And now, the B Plus Wrestling Podcast. Watch global. Support local. It's the B Plus Wrestling Podcast.
The move.
You might not be an A, but you are a B plus.
Check it out! Here we go! You wanna mess with us? Cause we're slinging on the ground, slinging on the ground. You wanna mess with us?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen out there in the B Plus land. It is me. It is the one they call Mr Myster1ous, and welcome to the Impact Zone. No, we did not forget Impact Zone with our big shuffle of events, with our new scheduled programming. We have our flagship show. I had Major League Report yesterday, and unfortunately last week, due to technical dramas, I was not able to record the latest episode of Impact Wrestling. So that's on me, but thankfully, I seem to have sorted that out for podcasting for the time being. So you guys, thankfully, we get to talk Impact Wrestling. Wanted to get that out of the way and just let you guys know that I did not forget, and I would not miss talking about Impact Wrestling for the world with you guys, because it's a very interesting promotion, and it's a result of a lot of joy in my wrestling viewing, a lot of head-scratching moments. But on the whole, it's actually quite enjoyable. And everything that usually kind of confuses me, or I find like, well, looks like it's kind of turning a bit shit, it kind of explains itself after a week or two. You see the direction. And even though I don't agree with some things, I enjoy Impact Wrestling, and everyone should too. So if you're listening to this, I hope you feel the same way. So despite having events out of my control with last week's episode, so I'm doing a big record for you guys, so bear with me. I'm going to be covering last week's episode of Impact Zone, this week's episode of Impact Wrestling, which was the Friday 13th taping, which so much wrestling came out on Friday 13th. It's crazy. And of course, this week of all weeks is the week where Impact Wrestling have their two Impact Plus specials, Operation Override, which for the life of me, I always think about Power Rangers Operation Overdrive. Like, I can't get that out of my head comparing the two.
Operation Overdrive.
Can you blame me? And the second one, of course, is Victory Road, a tried and tested pay-per-view for Impact Wrestling. So we'll be doing a big breakdown of all those. So I'll start with last week's episode of Impact Wrestling. We started out with a women's wrestling match. We had Havoc versus Su Yung. Now, I talked about this for the past few weeks. One of the things that kind of bothers me with Impact Wrestling as of late is the fact that they go for a non-finish very frequently, and they lose a lot. It loses its luster after a while. It doesn't feel special. It just feels like an excuse to drag out a story, which is what, and that's the idea of a no contest finish or a disqualification or a counter. That's kind of the reason for it. But every kind of storyline has that. It happens about 2-3 times in certain episodes, and I'm not a fan of it. I think Impact Wrestling just stopped relying on it. You can have heels be underhanded and be seedy and everything else, but if every storyline does it, you kind of expect it, and it doesn't feel special. So that was my issue. And unfortunately, in this opening match between Havoc and Su Yung, Havoc defeated Su Yung by disqualification. So that's their feud isn't done yet. It's still going. And you can argue, because they're both the supernatural ladies, that they're not bound to the rules of a traditional wrestling match. So they need to have a hardcore stipulation later on down the line, which seems to be the route they're taking. So with this one, I don't mind as much, but again, we've had weeks, if not months, of DQs, countouts, double countouts, no contests. They get exhausting. If you keep going back to the well. As for the match before all of that happened, you had Su Yung was tormenting Havoc with a lot of psychological mind games. You have to take a little step back. So they're trying to make Su Yung out as the more terrifying supernatural presence than Havoc, even though she is the far more smaller woman, right? Like, so you had the one-on-one matchup. Havoc was dominating in the early goings because she's a beast, for nothing else. She hesitates before doing a leg drop, allowing Sue to avoid it, and hits her modified springboard knee. Havoc locked in a Boston Crab, but Sue fought out of it, sending Havoc face first into the turnbuckle. Sue did a big somersault off the apron, crashing into Havoc on the floor. During all that time, Sue sprayed red mist into the face of Havoc, causing the DQ, and then they just kept battering each other after the bell. And I'm surprised Father James Mitchell didn't come out here and then. And like, the beauty of this is that in the latest taping, he actually does appear in a segment. So he's still in that storyline, but you think he would insert himself in this whole thing. I would have much rather Sue get a victory here against Havoc to make her seem like she has some kind of story and just energy behind what she's doing, because for right now, she's just targeting Havoc and nothing's really coming of it at the moment. But you never know. Bound for Glory, it's only about a month away. We had the big Slammiversary Monsters Ball match. I am very curious how they could top that with these two. Or it would have to be like, what is more hardcore than a Monsters Ball match? Let me know, guys. Like, hit me up on the socials and let me know what you think. We had the next segment was Moose versus Fala Bar, the second match that these guys have had in the past few weeks. There was a final encounter that was meant to be. So Moose is now on the quest to fight Ken Shamrock, leading up to Bound for Glory, which has been revealed that he will officially be facing the world's most dangerous man October 20th for Bound for Glory. I am so excited. The Godfather of TNA is coming back. He's 55 and he looks in the best shape of his life. And hopefully, I don't think he'll win. I've said this already. I don't think he'll win, but I think he will take Moose to school, and Moose will have to resort to some kind of heelish tactics to win, but it will work better for Moose, so he can go on to be a top contender for the world title, whoever the winner is. If it's Brian Cage, and he goes and he's the contender next. If it's Sammy, it'd be Tessa. That's how I see it with the connection with the dots here. We had Fala Bar. He tossed Moose halfway across the ring, followed by a belly-to-belly suplex. Fala sent Moose crashing into the corner with a strong Irish rip. He was like, Fala was in total control. He was very angry, and I love Fala Bar when he is very, very angry. He did a huge back body drop. Like, Moose is the king of back body drops onto the outside, onto the apron, just anywhere you think a hard bump, you just bring in Moose because he's your guy. Moose raked the eyes of Fala Bar to gain control halfway during the match, and he connected with a crossbody, but it didn't really do anything for Fala. He just started to get the no. He started to charge up. Fala hit the bonsai drop in the corner, and surprisingly, he kicked out. Moose kicked out. I don't think I've seen anyone kick out of the bonsai drop. Like, once Fala's done that, it's usually over. Like, I can't remember in his match with Sammy. I don't think he pulled it off, because it's very, very rare for someone to, especially with someone of Fala Bar's size, to kick out of a bonsai drop. But Moose, it shows you the power and how much faith they have in the 5-star athlete, quote unquote, Mr. Impact Wrestling. Moose connected with his no jackhammer needed spear to pick up the win. And after the match, though, Moose sent a message to Ken Shamrock by locking in an ankle lock on Fala Bar. And he wouldn't let go. And Moose doesn't wear boots. He comes out barefoot because he's silly like that. And yeah, he was in a bad way. The referees and everyone else, all the backstage people, had to tear Moose off Fala. It was very ugly, but the message was sent. I was a little disappointed that Fala Bar didn't pick up a win, but there is a story with him, which I'm very glad to say, and we'll be covering about that later on. So he has a story to fall back on, and he's on his own journey now. And Moose needed that extra win to get some momentum going forward for the Las Vegas tapings, and then eventually Bound for Glory. We had Tessa Blanchard asking Tommy Dreamer to stand by her side. Stand by your man. And she looks to put an end to OVE once and for all. Again, we're going in circles here, people. Like, I love Tessa. I love Sammy. I love OVE. Like, they have great chemistry. But man, we talk about dipping into the well, like I mentioned with false finishes. This is another story that we keep going into as well. All that and the ECW stuff, but that's gonna no way coalesce soon. Ha 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 ha. And we had a segment with Eddie Edwards and his wife Alicia. They're having a little conversation, and all of a sudden, a lady of the night, I assume, or just some promiscuous woman comes up to Eddie Edwards, right, and makes it out like she hooked up with Eddie last night, and she has. I don't know if she was putting on. Her accent sounded so fake. She looked like she was like Spanish Mexican descent woman, but like her accent was like really as if she was doing a like an imitation of what her accent should be. Like, you're so hardcore. Like, it sounded like Tommy Wiseau trying to do a Spanish accent. I can't describe it, right? Like, you were great last night. You're so hardcore. And it's like, oh, this is your wife? And yeah, Alicia is there. Like, her acting leads very much to the imagination. So after weeks of Alicia being courted by Ace, like the thing that really pisses her off is the fact that Eddie is cheating on her. Like the idea that Eddie's cheating on her. That's the thing that pisses her off. Right? And she's completely oblivious to Ace Austin's attempts to woo her. But the thing about Eddie, which so as daft as she's being, as the daft as the storyline's making her out to be, that seemed to be the point. Like, so you can kind of tell, like, she's not into Ace at all, right? If she was, they'd be making Alicia do far more of a, oh, I don't know, he's kind of cute. So I'm like, and I hate romantic storylines in wrestling. I don't like dwelling on them. It doesn't work a lot of the time. They haven't worked since, God, the early 2000s. I'm going to say it flat out. There's a lot of love stories that they try and do in wrestling. They do not work. But we're actually getting a fallout with Eddie and Alicia. So we'll see the eventual snap. It's coming. I just have to be patient. Soon we will have it, ladies and gentlemen. Very, very soon. We have the next match, TJP versus Golden Magic. So after last week's, a couple weeks ago, when you're listening to this, bear with me, the Fatal 4-Way match where TJP, he was inches away from victory, but Golden Magic did a top rope 450 or something to that effect on another member in the match, and he picked up the victory before TJP could submit his opponent. So TJP wanted to get his win back. And these guys went all over around the ring. TJP just, like, he is an absolute technical submission specialist, high flying master. He knows how good he is. He is an incredible athlete. And if you've had a chance to see him live, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But Golden Magic hit a moonsault to TJP on the floor, and Golden Magic headed to the top rope, but TJP cut him off with a kick. It was very great back and forth. You can tell TJP was the greater man of the two. Like he hung up Golden Magic in the corner and hit a delayed running drop kick. Right, a lot of flips, but not gratuitously so, which I'm happy to say. Surprisingly, when you're fighting a luchador and you have someone like TJP, TJ attempted a swanton, but Golden Magic avoided it and hit a springboard cutter. And Golden Magic hit a springboard corkscrew, colliding with TJP onto the concrete. So it was very ugly, but it looked gorgeous. You had TJP connect with a brainbuster, but Golden Magic, that was only for a near fall. And then Golden Magic turned it around with a Hurricanrana off the top for his own near fall. Eventually, you had Golden Magic take TJP off the top with a moonsault slam, and Golden Magic missed the follow-up 450 splash. So that allowed TJP to lock in one of his various submissions to pick up the win. So TJP got his win back, and we'll see. I don't know where they're going with him. He's there. I was surprised to see him a couple weeks ago. Actually, just the fact that he's back on the Impact Wrestling roster, but there is a story with him helping out someone. But as for him himself, I think they're going to try and keep him away from the X Division title picture just yet, depending on how the Testa story goes, whether she'll face Jake Crist for the X Division title. If you put TJP against Jake Crist, you would expect TJP to win because he's the most agile and the most technically sound wrestler on the roster, and he's already been an X Division champion, but that was put back for TNA. I'd like to think that he would win straight away, but I think they're just going to distract him from the main title picture for now, at least. You had Ace Austin. Surprise, if you didn't tell already, he actually paid that lady off to say to Eddie Edwards, "You're so hard, you're so hardcore," right? And he was about to slip her a bill, but then Alicia Edwards is walking on the sidewalk the same time, so he's like, "No, I'm a one-woman man. Get away from me, you floozy." And I love he has this hairdo that just seems like such a dorky. It makes him seem like an absolute dork, and it makes him seem like he's this clean-cut guy, when obviously he has a lot more carnal intent on mind, shall we say. And he quickly changes his tune, tells her to prepare for her match, but she hasn't had a match yet. So I'm very confused what he's talking about, whether in the next taping she's going to have a match or they never showed her match. So at the moment we haven't seen anything. That's all I'm saying to everybody. But so I thought, now that I've seen the latest episode, she didn't have a match there. So whether this promo was meant to air right about this time, not a clue. We had a little vignette with the longest reigning now, kind of, unless you Google it, Knockouts champion, Taya Valkyrie, and she is furious. Oh my god, guys, she's furious that there's no big celebration for her record-breaking moment last week. She's saying, it's all about Tennille, it's all about her, it should be about me, right? It's because of Tennille, that dastardly woman from Australia, those Australians, like, we're awesome, you can't deny. But we get a promo from Johnny Swinger, former WCW, former WWE, former TNA World Tag Team Champion, Johnny Swinger. I love this dude. He has some of the corniest, think of the cheesiest 80s, 90s workout videos and pump-up videos. Grab all that persona, that bravado, and all that cockiness and channel it into one vessel. That vessel is Johnny Swinger. But he owns it so well that he is lovable. He's probably going to be just a dickish heel when he comes onto the roster. And do I see him getting any gold anytime soon? No. I've Googled his matches because of the promos that have been coming out. They're unlike anything you've ever seen. It's such a fine line between corny and porn starish. It's so weird. And I was pissing myself laughing. I cannot wait to see him debut or return to Impact, or because he's been in TNA, return to Impact, whatever you want to say. I have no idea what they're going to do with him. Where they'll throw him into a story with the Deaners, I don't know. But he'll be a nice guy on the roster, a nice veteran just to help put the younger guys over. That's my hope anyways. He's been calling out, because he's jacked as well. He called out Brian Cage. He's talking about how he's going to win all the gold when he gets home. And he's I'm going to ramble if I keep talking about it. So very much, ladies and gentlemen, you need to look into Johnny Swinger going forward, because he has captured my attention, and I was very surprised that he would do so. You had Kira Hogan and Madison Rayne confront Tennille Dashwood, because Madison Rayne, as locker room leader, as she keeps enforcing to everybody, Tennille's getting interviewed by Jimmy Jacobs, and then she just introduces herself to Tennille, and she's saying, like, making sure that we don't want you to cut the line. Like, you can't just challenge Taya Valkyrie just because you've come here from Australia, right? Tennille just says, I can challenge both of you to a match. Like, I'm not cutting any lines. I'll go through you first. And Madison then says, I can't wait to teach you a lesson. Kira, you do it. And she just walks off. How is she getting all this power? She's not locker room leader. There is like Impact is just that's the thing with no managerial figure. Like the stars are just like, you know what? You do it. I don't care. You do this shit. Like, okay. And then just like Scott Del More, he just must be a fan of Madison Rain. Just like, I'm not gonna say no to her. Like, screw it. It's just it baffles the mind. Like if you make her think she has power, she's only gonna get worse. That's the weird thing. We had a match between Rob Van Dam versus Madman Fulton, accompanied by Dave Christ. Right, I should mention the OVE promo. Right, Dave Christ is always being snarky as always, but Sami Callihan is celebrating. He is celebrating. He's looking forward to later on in the night where we finally get an answer about Brian Cage and the status of the world title. I was so happy to hear that. Right, he's all dressed up. He's just saying like, OVE are gonna get everything they want because if we don't, we're gonna tear shit up in here. We're gonna destroy Impact Wrestling. That we've thrown out the gauntlet. Brian Cage, you need to answer. But like, you have Madman in the corner. He's just randomly he's interrupting their promos, just going "Urgh," and just doing laps. And he's just talking Dave Chris like, stop taking him to Arby's or Darby's. I'm Australian. I don't know the name of the restaurant, but he's like, this is what happens when you keep giving him food. He get too excited. He just like Sammy treats him like a monster, and Jake and Dave just like, no, he's a mate of ours, you know. Just you can't question it too much. But he was looking forward to Madman putting away Rob Van Dam, and so was I. I was really looking forward to Madman potentially beating Rob Van Dam, who has had such a flawless record since he's come back. The only person he's really lost to is Moose, right? And I'm very grateful for that. So I thought maybe he would give some rub to OVE. Not quite yet. So RVD, he was like, I would say so as well. He's getting a lot better. He seemed a lot more in the flow of things since he's been back on Impact Wrestling. At first he seemed a lot more gassed, but now he's gotten a lot better. I don't know if it's the opponent he's with who is like able to handle like taking a heavier workload with someone who's a little bit older, or it's just RVD who's actually getting some more endurance back. He's getting the juices flowing. I don't know. Maybe he's found a new strain of whatever he's smoking. I don't know. Whatever the case is, this was actually a pretty entertaining match until the finish. Another DQ. And I'm just like, you didn't need this at all. Like, and you could tell this was just RVD didn't want to lose to someone else. Like, and this, he won by disqualification. So he technically won. He wanted to keep his record just that little bit flawless there. But he was like hitting springboard back kicks, followed by a kick to the head. He did the Rolling Thunder, and just as he looked like he was about to do the 5-star frog splash, Dave Chris pushed RVD off the top rope, just in full view of the referee. It was just like, he didn't even try to hide it. After the match, he had Dave and Fulton continue the attack on RVD. RVD turned it around, sending Fulton to the outside and hitting Dave with the 5-star frog splash, which was very surprising. Just, you would think that confronting Madman, he would just beat the crap out of RVD because he's an old man. But nope, gotta keep RVD strong. Don't agree with it. It happened. But there is a direction here. We'll see what happens soon. You had a segment with the Rascals and Rich Swann and Willie Mack. They're just like, I can sum up the whole segment just like, you got the stuff? No? Where's the stuff? I don't have the stuff. Do you have the stuff? No, I don't have the stuff. Rich Swann and Willie Mack come in. You guys got the stuff? Oh, we got the stuff. That is essentially the promo, right? And after they get the stuff, they're talking about the tag team title picture and how Rich and Willie are eyeing off the North. And then the Rascals are like, well, we are too, I guess. I mean, like, remember when we nearly beat them, guys? Remember? Haha, guys. They're just lingering now as the Jobber tag team squad. Sorry to say, it sucks. It does suck. But it just kind of reinforces the fact that Rich Swann and Willie Mack, they are the next in line to become the tag team champions. You can tell they're saving that for Bound for Glory. The question is, will they add another team to that? It's not going to be the Rascals because they have a match. We'll talk about that very soon. I would like it just to be a straightforward Rich Swann and Willie Mack versus the North, and they're going to tear the house down. That could easily be the secret match of the night for Bound for Glory between those two tag teams. I can call that right now. We have more footage of the Desi Hit Squad serving their punishment at the Dina farm. You know, Garmas has the plan to ensure something like this never happens again. What will that be? We'll find out very, very soon. And you had Jordan Grace goes down to Rosemary's lair. People keep going into her lair. Like she keeps putting wards up, and people keep invading her lair. She doesn't understand it. And I want to touch on that when we talk about the latest taping of Impact Wrestling with her character and just the like how people keep invading her personal space. But Jordan Grace lays everything down the line. She says she doesn't need help from Rosemary. And Rosemary says it's not up to her, it's up to the shadow, right? Just she decides what she does or doesn't do. The Hive decides what they do, and she's not bound to the rules of mortal men and mortal women. So yeah, you can't help her. They could have a match later on, Jordan Grace and Rosemary. I could see that being just like, no, seriously, stay out of my business kind of thing. I can totally see Jordan Grace doing that. And we have the main event of the evening, right? Technically, that's the last match. So the North, Ethan Page and Josh Alexander versus LAX. And I'm glad. So this was titles versus careers. And we knew the outcome of the match because Santana and Ortiz appeared at All Out for AEW. So I don't know if they want to try and release this episode sooner before All Out, right? But we knew that they were going to lose. And I'm so very surprised because I thought that this match, they would make it seem like it was a more do or die moment. Now, and it's felt like LAX didn't really, they weren't desperate. They wanted you to think they were desperate, but they weren't desperate. And this was them at 7. They weren't as invested. They weren't really trying to fight for their careers. And like, let's be fair, an LAX match on a 7 is still a very great match, especially with the North. But man, like you can feel like there was something missing, right? And I'm going to be talking about them next for the latest taping as well, which is very surprising because I didn't think I would be after this. But as to Ortiz, he was the one who was bringing that fire for their match, right? He was taking it to both members of the North. Like he hit Page with a tornado DDT, followed by a sit-down powerbomb to Alexander. Very surprising on Josh Alexander, right? The North hit their double team signature move, but Ortiz somehow managed to get the stroller up for that one. The North were about to attempt the LAX Street Sweeper. They were going to defeat them with their own move to retire them, but Santana just cut that off. Like, I would have loved that. Just that little spit in the face if they actually had the balls to do that. Right? The match ended, so Page broke up the Street Sweeper attempt on Alexander, so when LAX tried to do it themselves and show the way you meant to do it, the North hit Santana with a double team backbreaker, followed by their signature alley-oop finishing flurry, and LAX are no longer a part of Impact Wrestling. Or are they? Yes. Or are they? We'll talk about that very soon. And I thought we'll end there. right? You needed to really end on LAX having their last match, right? And like Conan, Santana Ortiz, they hug in the middle of the ring, fans are chanting LAX. The crowd here were really invested. They weren't so much for most of these episodes. I'm not going to lie, this crowd was not feeling this at all. A lot more in the latest taping, but this last week's one was okay. But I think they might have got burnt out halfway through because they were very quiet. So that was the LAX match. And then we had, after the final goodbyes, we had the answers that we've all been craving for. The answer to the world title picture. So Brian Cage, the Machine, Mr. Get My Shit In, comes out with Melissa Santos, right? And he revealed that he refuses to forfeit the world title despite Impact Wrestling, like maybe considering the idea, like, look, he's been out for months. He's going to be officially cleared at Bound for Glory when he'll defend the title against Sami Callihan, right? So he's just saying, over my dead body, you strip me of the title. I'm going to make you all wait still. I apologize for that. And he's just saying, you know what? Yeah, we're going to do it at Bound for Glory. But this, I was very surprised at what happened next. So Cage talks about getting to spend time with his wife, Melissa, during this injury and gets down on one knee to propose, right? Let me say that again. He gets to spend time with his wife. He called her his wife, and Impact Wrestling have acknowledged the fact that they are married in real life already. And if you're thinking like tapings, like releases, like they got married before the Mexico taping started. But then he just proposed. So this is a wrestling wedding. So they're getting engaged again. And yeah, she kind of had to say yes. So it was a nice little Mazel Tov situation to just make people, like, they didn't want to end the episode on a bummer of LAX retiring. They're just like, Brian Cage, Melissa, you guys get hitched again. Just cause. Like, I find it weird the status that they've had. So they've acknowledged that they were engaged, that they were like seeing each other, and that they were like fiance and all that beforehand. And they didn't. Then they stopped saying fiance for the past few weeks, and they just said girlfriend. And now it's back to being fiance. It's weird. I don't mind it. I love wrestling weddings because they're always so bonkers, and you don't know what will happen, how badly they'll get ruined. I'm trying to think like what will happen here. Like, I don't like, because you've had people like Johnny Mundo, Hennigan, Nitro, Impact, whatever you want to call him, and Taya Valkyrie. They've done that with they've done that with Lucha Underground, and they've done that in other promotions as well. So they're not the first wrestling couple to get re-engaged or get remarried in a wrestling sense. So it's not new territory, but it's just a weird thing. Just like, for a fact that they're married, and Impact Wrestling already acknowledged they're married, but still, it was just a nice little like, just to make you all forget that LAX are no longer going to be in Impact Wrestling soon. Next week, and it's all going to be over. But we will persevere. We will stay strong, all of us here. So before we get into the latest taping of Impact Wrestling and the two specials, God, this is going to be a long day. Let's chat with Greg with our sponsors.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hey guys, just a reminder, if you want to hear all of these wonderful B Plus podcast episodes completely ad-free, make sure you head over to Patreon or Podbean, where we are the featured podcast this week. You can subscribe for as little as $1 a month up to $10 a month, where anything you want to help us with, it really helps out. It's going to help us grow the site. It's going to help us redesign some things, and everything that we get through this and through the advertising as well is all going straight back into the podcast so that we can get Aussie Graps out there for the rest of the world to hear about, for the rest of the world to see, so we can grow this mission of watch global, support local, and build indie wrestling. So if you want to be a part of that and get some really cool rewards like call-in shows, bonus episodes, ad-free like I mentioned, then head over to patreon.com/theb+ and subscribe today. Hey everyone, just want to take a second to tell you about one of our new sponsors, Outbreak Nutrition. Outbreak Nutrition are creating supplements for survival, sharper minds, quicker reflexes, all the energy you need to take your performance to the next level, whether that be on the field, in the gym, on the gaming field. That's right, they have specifically designed gaming supplements as well to help you focus on those late night sessions. They even sell coffee, you guys, at Outbreak Nutrition. You can get coffee pods, you can get coffee beans, you can get supplements for the bedroom as well if you want to enhance your performance there. These are performance enhancing supplements for every aspect of your life, specifically designed by gamers, for gamers, to stay fit and healthy in the gym, to stay sharp and focused on the game, and to dominate in all areas of life. So check out outbreaknutrition.com, and for being a listener of our podcast, they will give you 10% off your order when you enter the code B+. That is BPLUS at checkout. So make sure, if you want to stay on top of your game, if you want to take your performance to the next level, outbreaknutrition.com, enter the code B+ at checkout.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you stuck around. So after the last week's episode of Impact Wrestling, you're sticking around for the Friday the 13th themed taping of Impact Wrestling, and you're ready to hear about the other specials exclusively on the Impact Plus streaming service. So let's go through what the latest Impact Wrestling had in store for us after last week, since we're all caught up, and let's go through everything else. We opened up with another women's wrestling match. Very surprising. I'm very welcoming of it. You had Kiera Hogan versus Tennille Dashwood in her Impact Wrestling in-ring debut, and let me just say, her theme song is lit. It's so good. It's I need to find it on Spotify or something. I need to get Spotify. It's one of those just like nice wake up alarm clock songs. You just need to gets you in the mood for stuff, you know? Start your day. As for the match itself, Kiera, like, she's been the commentary were talking about this, and I actually agree with them, that she's the most improved knockout on the roster. And it was great for her to indoctrinate Tennille Dashwood into the swing of Impact Wrestling and the Knockouts division. But you had Kiera retreated in the early goings of the match, trying to make it her match, but Kiera took over with a super kick, right? Hit a flurry of running strikes in the corner, but then Tennille connected with a butterfly suplex, followed by a taste of Tennille, which is like a running crossbody onto like the bottom turnbuckle. Looked lovely for a near fall. Tennille attempted the spotlight, which is just her running drop kick with a really badly timed check, but I will let that slide. But Kiera countered initially for a roll-up for a near fall. Tennille avoided a running strike, but allowed her to lock in the tarantula on the ropes. I love that she uses the tarantula. Like, not enough wrestlers use the tarantula. And then after that, after she wore down Kiera Hogan some more, the girl on fire, Tennille hit a top rope crossbody, followed by her spotlight running drop kick for the win. So Tennille Dashwood, very successful in her debut with Impact Wrestling. We get an OVE segment with Sami Callihan, and I can sum this promo up as, it's bullcrap, 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 bullcrap. And you have Dave and Jake Chris, they're just like, shh, it's okay, Sammy, shh, I'm calm. No, I'm not calm, it's bullcrap. Oh, you gotta love Sami Callihan. He's like, how he can ride the line between disgusting, like sadistic, and just comedic, I'll never know. But in this segment, so he's obviously, after last week where Brian Cage is clinging onto the title and he has to wait another month for him to face off for the world title. Bullcrap! But yeah, he's talking about Impact Management, and quite rightly so, he's saying Brian Cage should defend the belt in the build-up, if not with him, or just be around, if nothing else. And he's saying how, you know what, me and the Golden Draw will put away Tessa and Tommy. So Sammy This could have been just like a random thing, but I want to reiterate this. He actually called his partner, his cohort, Jake Christ, the Golden Draw. Right? He's acknowledging that Jake Christ is his own man. It was a very subtle, like, me and the Golden Draw gotta take you down, Tessa. And instead of the usual everything promo, we got forever, forever, forever. And then he goes, like, just to end the promo, just like, bullcrap. I don't know what he was on, but it was amazing. It just, you needed that. I needed that weird OVE promo. We needed a shake up from the usual norm. We had another promo, but this time with the North. They're being interviewed by Jimmy Jacobs about retiring LAX in their titles versus career match last week. They're pretty much saying how Josh Alexander's saying, like, oh yeah, it was a lovely feeling, but Ethan Page is just like, I could care less, right? Like, we defended our belts. People should be talking about the fact that we successfully defended our tag belts and not the fact that we retired some has-been team, which is very weird. So they're saying how fairy tales aren't real, bullies exist, right? And the moment that he says bullies exist, both members of the North ruffled Jimmy Jacobs' hair. So that was a very, like, it's kind of like a weird rascally time thing. I thought it was very funny. Like, and he's just saying, like, the North will prevail. The North remembers. The North stands tall because they're that damn good. And you had Don Callis and Josh Matthews. They're talking on commentary. They was this. I think this was just a throwaway line, but they're saying LAX is being sent to the retirement home. Bitch, they're not being sent to the retirement home. They're still young guys, and they're in All Elite Wrestling. But in Impact Wrestling canon, they're being sent to the retirement home. Yeah, that's what's happening. They're not going on to bigger and better things. No, never that. Yeah, the next match was Michael Elgin versus Dynastia. So he is the current AAA mini champion, right? And this was everything you could think of when you have a very much smaller gentleman, even though it's a luchador, going up against the brick shit house that is Michael Elgin. It went out exactly like you thought, right? The Dynastia hit a Hurricanrana, catching Elgin off guard. Like, he was using a lot of his evasiveness, momentum, his speed, his agility. All of that did not matter in the end, right? Dynasty attempted a springboard to the outside, but Elgin caught him, once again powerbombed him onto the apron, and then, very interestingly, Elgin put away Dynastia with an Emerald Flosion, which is a signature move. Now, I thought it was very interesting when he did it, and I thought they could be subtle about it, because that is the move of Marufuji. And I thought, oh, like, they could be very creative here, and just, like, he starts using that move, and then he starts to reveal that I want you, Marufuji, at Bound for Glory. But commentary, I hate you for this. Just the moment he did it, they're just like, oh, that's an Emerald Flosion. That's the signature move of Marufuji. It's like, no shit. You don't ruin. And this was before, and then Michael Elgin cut a promo to say that he wants to face Marufuji. Like, this was such a pre-taped, post-recorded thing. If they had just shut up and savored that moment, it could have let the wrestling marks like myself just be like, oh shit, that's Marufuji's move. He's gonna challenge. Like, you could have let that sink in. But commentary, they didn't let that moment sit for like 2 seconds before, oh, that's an Emerald Flosion. Screw you, Don Callis, for doing that. Screw you, Josh Matthews. That was very badly timed. I don't like calling you guys out on your commentary, but it had to be said. It was bullshit that you did. So, spoilers, it's been revealed now. Michael Elgin will face off against Marufuji. I am very excited. He has faced off in Impact Wrestling before. Like, I think he faced Moose a couple years ago. But Elgin got on the mic. He's saying that he's made so many people, like, be humble in New Japan. Like, he faced off against the Rainmaker, and he's saying all that. There's one person who escaped his wrath, and he's saying, Marufuji, you need to step toe-to-toe and realize you're in the fight for your life. I'm so excited for this. Marufuji is an absolute beast, like a multiple-time GHC heavyweight champion, former junior heavyweight champion in New Japan. Michael Elgin, of course, former Intercontinental champion, former openweight champion. It's a dream match from New Japan that's traveled all the way to America. It was the most logical fit, and if you want to make Michael Elgin seem like a big contender again for the world title, depending on how they swing it with the Bound for Glory, I can totally see Michael Elgin picking up the victory here. But if Marufuji wins, then you can kind of think, well, maybe they're going to lean towards Sammy. I don't know. Love the announcement. I can't wait for Bound for Glory. Already, the card is looking amazing for it so far. You had Knockouts champion Taya Valkyrie invades Rosemary's Lair again. Now, I don't like this segment, and I'll tell you why. So we have Su Yung and Havoc. They're protecting their supernatural characters very much so. But Rosemary, in this weird promo, Taya's being very out of character and actually looking to better her relationship with Rosemary, being in her own, like, high school bitchy way, is trying to be friends with Rosemary, gives her a phone, and Rosemary's like, how did you get into my lair? And Taya's just like, it's a cave. I walked in. No, the ward should have disintegrated you. And she's just like, I don't know. I'm wearing shiny shit. It reflects off. Doesn't matter. And this could be like a throwaway thing for comedy, but you need to preserve your supernatural characters, right? They're so hard to craft. And Rosemary has such a great look for her character, and she has a great presence and a personality. And it's kind of showing that they're keeping her away from the supernatural stories, which has been obvious for the past few weeks. They're keeping away from the supernatural stories so that Su Yung and Havoc, they can have their like supernatural like battle of the minds and battle of like the undead bride, and just like all of that is being thrown to the side. And then Rosemary, they're forgetting that she is a demon assassin, and they're treating her just like a girl with face paint, and it's not good at all. Like when you have in an age where we have WWE with Bray Wyatt and just preserving the Fiend, that amazing character, you've got Impact Wrestling who are just dismantling the work they've done with Rosemary over the past couple years with this promo. I'm hoping, because in a Impact Plus special, she faced off against, like, Rosemary faced Taya for the Knockouts title. I'm hoping that it was a ploy for her in the match to make it seem like she was friends, and that it's not going to carry forward next week. I'm hoping. If it keeps going, I'm going to be a little worried. That's all I'll say about that. We had another promo with Falaba. He's trying to eat away his sorrows, and out comes TJP. He swaps his food for more healthier options, and he's trying to have a conversation with Falaba. And of course, every time he tries to talk to him, he's just like, ba, 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 ba. And TJP is just like, yeah, I'm not going to even try and translate that. But he's on a quest, ladies and gentlemen. TJP is going to be the one to help Falaba find his voice. I don't know what that means, whether he's actually going to try and teach him to actually talk. So it's going to take some time. It might be till Bound for Glory, but Falaba is going to slowly transition into this big monster babyface. And I cannot wait. He deserves it. Make him just the big angry panda who can say more than just no, no, no. I'm excited. I have no idea. There's so many ways I can go about this. And with TJP, it's a weird pairing. What a weird pairing. But I don't know where they're going with this. I'm very excited for this. I'm low-key excited for this. You had another promo with Moose saying he's going to walk the mean streets of Mexico next week to prove to Ken Shamrock he's the most dangerous man. And yeah, they announced that he's going to be facing off against Shamrock at Bound for Glory. Back to the matches now, ladies and gentlemen. We had Texano Jr. versus Dr. Wagner Jr. Now, Dr. Wagner faced off in a hair versus mask match at Triple Mania. He said that if he lose, he would retire. He did. Then he came back. It was weird. I don't understand it myself, but he might be retiring from other places. Like he might be having his final match at Bound for Glory, because it's been revealed, ladies and gentlemen, that Dr. Wagner Jr. will be at Bound for Glory. Him and 2 mystery partners will be facing off against all 3 members of the Rascals. You could, or you could maybe say the Lucha Brothers. I would love that idea. Will it happen? I don't know. It depends on how, when AEW, when they officially start up, like they're locked in with those contracts. I thought it was such a definite thing, but the past few weeks with certain stars, it's left things up in the air for me. But yeah, he had Wagner, he got in the mic, and before he was doing a promo to the crowd in Mexico, and this was the loudest I've heard them. Understandable, hometown guy, right? But you could hear them really light up when they've heard Dr. Wagner, 3-time AAA mega champion and everything else like that. Texano attacked him from behind to gain the early advantage. Texano wanted to attack Wagner with the bull rope, but the referee stopped him. Wagner gained control with a series of dragon screw leg whips, followed by a cutter. It was like the Great Muta match all over again. You had Wagner, he dived off the apron, very, very agile for a man in his early 50s, shall we say. Wagner took Texano off the top rope with a superplex for a 2 count before connecting with his signature sit-down slam for the win. Weird match. Don't know what to make of it. You had Ace Austin. He had a promo with Alicia, making her promise him that she'll stay backstage during his match with Eddie Edwards because he doesn't want to see her get hurt. And Alicia's just like, okay, I guess. I don't know why. She's like, I care about you. He's like, okay, I guess. I guess. That's her character. I guess. LAX, a very weird promo. LAX are packing up their things, right? You have Ortiz. He stopped drinking alcohol. He's drinking coffee because he associates drinking alcohol with good times and coffee with bad times. And you have Santana and Conan just like, that shit stinks, man. Get that out of here. But then, so they're packing up the clubhouse when Rich Swann and Willie Mack come in to say their goodbyes. They didn't hear about that they were retiring, just like, oh shit. Okay. Well, you know what? You guys have to stick around and have one last match. But the North retired us. No, you have to stick around and have one more match because reasons. And then they're just like, okay. And then the LAX, so despite being retired last week, they're going to have one final match in Impact Wrestling. They're going to milk that LAX money for all it's worth. I don't know what's going to happen. Like how they need to, like, and I mentioned this because they didn't go all out. They weren't desperate in their tag title career match. They need to make this match go up to a 10. This needs to be the main event. This needs to be, depending on what their priorities are with the storyline, this needs to be the main event. You need Rich Swann and Willie Mack to come out looking like the big leading undeniable tag team contenders, and LAX are going to pull that out of them to make everyone realize, oh shit, they're going to be the next champions. You need that, and I hope that they do that right, and that they crank that level of desperation and just like, no, this is our last match. I want to make it count to an 11. I want to see that. Hopefully it happens. We see the return of Father James Mitchell. Rejoice, your savior has returned, ladies and gentlemen. He's warning Havoc about the dangers of Su Yung, so he keeps trying to say how she's I wrote this down, a Category 5 hurricane, and if you keep going after her, I won't be able to save you. So they keep bigging up her as this big insurmountable threat when really she's this small little Asian lady. It doesn't matter. Like I'm very curious how, because Havoc's been booked really really strong and she is a beast of a woman. I don't know how Su Young can realistically. It's going to be a hardcore match. It has to be, to make it seem like, oh, she's going to defeat you now. I don't get it at all. We had the next match, Ace Austin versus Eddie Edwards, and understandably, after Ace like just going to town and just trying to, without any shame, trying to say he's going to sleep with Alicia Edwards, no shame in it, and it's just Eddie is, he's like a bull. He's not thinking. He's just going after him. He just charges to the ring. Eddie takes out Ace in the early going with a dive to the floor. Ace throws his jacket in the face of Eddie, allowing him to gain control with a spin kick. He did a lot of his signature things just to gain a little bit of that extra hand. He did a low blow behind the referee's back. He attacked Eddie with his baton, I think it is. Eddie was like, he hit the blue thunder bomb for a near fall. He did the tiger driver. I don't know how Ace kicked out of that. It just shows you that Ace Austin is the future of the X Division. Like, after this weird storyline is over, I believe it. I firmly believe it. So the finish happened where Eddie grabs a chair. So when Ace was going to try and go under the ring, he found a steel chair. But then Eddie's like, oh, look what you found. He grabs the chair and hurls it at Ace's hand, calling it a disqualification. So again, we have another disqualification. I don't mind this one because this allows Ace Austin to get beaten the crap out of by Eddie Edwards. And they say that Eddie has snapped. He's officially snapped. That's what they're saying. I don't believe it just yet. He hasn't suffered enough. He needs that big ass blowout thing, which could technically happen still, right? Like, because security, they attempted to break things up. Like, Eddie did the Boston Knee Party. He threw the chair at one of the security guards, and like afterwards as well. So you had Alicia Edwards go to comfort Ace and calls Eddie a sick bastard, a cheater. I'm done with you. And then she goes with Ace in the hospital van, in the ambulance van on the way to the hospital. And like, they could have let that moment sit like that, but then Ace Austin is just thrusting and gyrating behind Alicia to Eddie. Like, he could have stopped. He legitimately got beaten the crap out of. He could have sold that a little bit better. There was no need for him to do that. Just like, I'm gonna bang your wife. I'm gonna bang your wife. There was no need for that at all. But nevertheless, like, it's just that extra thing for Eddie just to finally, please, finally snap. Just, they're dragging it out. It should have happened months ago. Just happen already. Dear God damn it. We had Jimmy Jacobs interview Brian Cage and Melissa Santos to say congratulations on their engagement / re-engagement. Don't dwell on it too much. Melissa reveals that they're getting married in 2 weeks on Impact in Las Vegas. What could possibly go wrong? All the Impact Wrestling roster are invited, including OVE. Oh boy. Oh boy. That's going to be very entertaining. We had another promo, another vignette with Johnny Swinger, and all was right with the world. Seriously, I need to find more stuff about Johnny Swinger. He was so funny in this. Like, he's just grabbing random people off the street who don't understand that he's doing this for wrestling. It was great. It was awesome. Right, and we had the next match. We had Big Mommy makes her appearance again with Nino Hamburguesa. I believe that was her partner when they were the Mixed World Tag Team Champions for AAA. Could be wrong. Facing the Desi Hit Squad. So they initially come out in their usual robes, but then the Dinas come out with them and say like, no, none of that fancy shit. And they come out in overalls, which they had underneath, thankfully. But yeah, the Dinas are making the Desi Hit Squad compete in their farm chores, and they're just like, they learn that Garma Singh recently disappeared from the farm, so commentary just like, oh, what does Garma Singh have in store for the Desi Hit Squad and the Dinas very, very soon? Mami embraces Raju. She goes Matrix. Like, she does a lot of shit. She's very agile for her size, but the problem is she is not that agile. That's the problem. So what happened was, after the last time she was in the ring with Taya Valkyrie and she did that moonsault where she almost broke her freaking neck, she does another top rope move onto the outside to Daddy Hit Squad, and with her partner there as well, she does a big suicide dive. I say big suicide dive. She did it off the second rope onto the floor, but she was balancing and was like being extra, extra safe for this one, which is great for her, but the timing of it was very off. It felt like she was up there forever. Absolutely forever. But like the crowd were loving Big Mommy. They love Nino. They were having so much fun with this, like, because of course they were. But yeah, there was some bickering between the Dinas and the Desi Hit Squad, which allowed for Nino and Mami to pick up the victory. Like, Nino launched himself off the top rope onto Raj for the win. I would have much rather the Desi Hit Squad pick the win here, because Big Mami and Nino, they're just the gimmick tag team. Like, you could have had that, like, but they maybe want to try and balance out 50-50 booking. I don't know what it was. You could have had the Desi Hit Squad after enduring these Dina promos, which I'm glad that seemingly they're over now. They could have had Desi Hit Squad just like, I'm sick of this shit. We are a serious threat in the tag team division, and just beat the crap out of Big Mommy and Nino. Could have happened, didn't happen, but there was something that gave me hope. So we have, after the match, we have the return of Mahabali Shera, right? Former Impact star, makes his return. We talk about Brick Shit House for Michael Elgin and the meat castle of Brian Cage. Like, Shera is just a man mountain. He is chiseled from stone. The guy is, I don't know, he's just amazing, incredible shape. Beats the Dinas to within an inch of their lives. Garma Singh comes out, applauds Shera, and Shera kneels before Garma Singh, and the rest of the Desi Hit Squad kneel before Garma Singh. This gives me hope that they're going to make them a serious threat now and not endure all the comedic, like, butt of every joke type thing. I believe in this. I'm hoping I'm right, because having that big enforcer in your faction now, there's so much potential for him to go after, like, the X Division title, a future world title contender. He could be the enforcer to help the Data Hit Squad, like, hopefully become the tag champions at some point. Like, it sounds like it's hard to picture with them being such a, like, jobber tag team, but they are very capable wrestlers. It's just they get stuck with very bad storylines, and they're the foreign heels, so that's why they're being relegated to that role. But with the return of Mahabali, I have hope, ladies and gentlemen, and Impact Wrestling, help me preserve that hope. That's all I ask you. Main event time, ladies and gentlemen. Sami Callihan and the Golden Draw, Jake Christ, versus Tessa Blanchard and Tommy Dreamer. This wasn't, and again, you can tell that this wasn't a desperation, like, the end to the feud, because there was something missing here. It made sense later, but there was something missing in this. There was a lot of kendo stick shots. This was a street fight, but there didn't feel like there was much hardcore stakes to this match at all. It just felt like an ordinary match, which you had Sami Callihan come out with the baseball bat. It didn't really do much. But the finish came where Dave Christ and Madman Fulton hit the ring, distracted Tommy Dreamer from doing his DDT, or he was trying to do the pile driver as well. I can't remember which one. but he distracted Tommy Dreamer, allowing Callahan to do his cactus special pile driver, thumbs up, thumbs down. We're continuing this story once again. So after the match, OVE continued to beat down on Tommy Dreamer. Tessa tries to fight back with a kendo stick, gets taken out with a steel chair shot from Sami Callahan. Right? She faced off against Madman, she kicked him in the dick, beat up all of OVE except for Sami, who hit her with a steel chair. It looked like Callahan was going to pile drive Tessa again, but this time, who would make the save but RVD and Rhino? So Tessa stands tall with the 3 hardcore legends to close the show. So we're going to have a likely 4-4 blowout match, OVE versus Team ECW. Okay, so I don't mind the fact that the feud between Tessa and Sami is reaching another big boiling point, but it needs to end. It needs to end. They don't know how to end it properly. Like, if Brian Cage wasn't injured, they probably would have wrapped this up about a month ago. But because of this, they've had to build up to it all over again. And I don't know what they're doing. Like, you would think that Sami needs to win this so that he seems like OVE are going to take over everything and he's going to win the title. If Tessa wins, I don't know what they're going to do. I really don't. Because, like, we're having Tessa and Sami again, and once again, Team ECW. Like, I've said this, Greg has said this, everyone here at the B Plus kind of said this about Impact Wrestling for the longest time. Bringing the homages to ECW, bringing back that imagery of the ECW legends. ECW needs to freaking die. It needs to die. We need to stop giving those, like, storyline wise, it makes sense that Rhino has moved on to something. RVD is just there. He can float. That's fine. But it's been a month since the last ECW homage, right? With Sabu and Dreamer and Rob Van Dam. And now we got, like, Dreamer and Rhino and Rob Van Dam. And they're trying to make it seem like, oh, this is a huge honor for Tessa Blanchard, but she does not need to be saddled with these old 40-year-old guys. It's not good for her story, and I don't know where it's going. They could have, again, I mentioned this, they could bail out and have her face Jake Christ for the X Division title and have her win that as a runner-up prize in this storyline. Or they could somehow have her face off for the world title. I don't see an end in sight for this, and I want to see an end in sight for this because I don't, like, she needs to have a shot at least before she goes back to the Knockouts division, because, like, otherwise all this work is for absolutely nothing, and I don't want to see that. So hopefully in the next few weeks, leading up to Bound for Glory with the Las Vegas tapings, we get some kind of answer. I just want some closure here, ladies and gentlemen, so I hope you guys do too. So after all that, how about we go through the Impact specials? Now, I'm going to just go over the cliff notes because we're going to get pressed for time here. So we'll go over Operation Override, which again, Overdrive. I'm showing my age. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. So we had at the Comanche County Fairgrounds in Lawton, Oklahoma, we had these matches. So we had a pre-show with Eddie Edwards joining Josh Matthews, discussing the street fight with Sami Callahan. That's going to be the main event for this one, right? It was a pre-show match: Damon Windsor versus Retro Randy versus Double D versus Prince Mahali. You had Randy Price defeat the other 3 men when he pins Double D. You had the main show match. You had Rohit Raju versus TJP. They play into the crowd before Rohit immediately rolls out of the ring and walks across the ringside while talking to the audience, right? I actually like this one as an opener, but of course TJP defeats Rohit Raju with his detonation kick. Of course, like, there's no kind of questioning that one. You had Moose versus Hawk. Moose like immediately dropped Hawk with a boot, choked him before launching Hawk into the corner. But yeah, Moose did his no jackhammer needed spear on Hawk to pick up the victory. Very capable wrestler. You guys should check him out. The next match we had was Shira versus Flex Zebra. And also, of course, Moose cut a promo on Ken Shamrock again before he was attacked by UFC Hall of Famer Stephen Bonner. Very, very interesting. So it's great how they're building Moose's story. I'm actually really invested in it now because it does seem like he's being given this direction. It feels like they're really taking care with it, and I love it. And what better way? So after defeating the big boys in Impact Wrestling, he's going after some UFC Hall of Famers like Ken Shamrock in the form of Stephen Bonner, who is also a professional wrestler now as well. You had Shira defeat Flex Zebra with a last ride powerbomb, which is pretty cool. We had Kira Hogan and Desi Dorada. They faced off against Rosemary and Taya Valkyrie. Again, I'm hoping that weird taping last week, How Did You Get Into My Lair, was just for these two specials, and after that, never mention it again. Just like, preserve the supernatural with Rosemary, please. But Rosemary and Taya pick up the win when Rosemary pins Desi with a sit-down reverse stunner. Very innovative. We had the World Class Championship match between the champion Chavo Guerrero and Montel Vontavious Porter, MVP. Holla! It's been years since I've seen these two. Absolute years. It's so refreshing to see them. Like, yes, I've seen Chavo when I've been watching Lucha Underground, but in real time, it's been so long since I've seen these two face off against each other. Two former WWE guys. It was great. And these guys, both in their 40s, both as agile as ever. They're just taking each other to school. Chavo invoking his inner Guerrero, ragged the eyes of MVP before he grabbed his belt and hit MVP with his title, causing the disqualification. So MVP defeated Chavo via disqualification, so he didn't win the title that night. Of course, they had a rematch on the following night for Victory Road. We had the North versus the Step Brothers. They picked up the win by a Burning Hammer Spinebuster. Very, very innovative. Absolutely loved it. They made the Step Brothers look great, but you knew that the North were gonna conquer overall because they're the freaking North. We had Michael Elgin defeat Fuego del Sol with his Elgin Bomb. He was you could see that he was trying to invoke Marufuji in his wrestling just a little bit. So just like the subtle nods in this one compared to the latest taping where it's like, that's an Emerald Flosion. I'm not going to give up on that fact. I'm sorry. We had the main event as well, Sami Callihan versus Eddie Edwards. Now, this is very, very interesting, ladies and gentlemen, because, right, now I'll go through the end. So Eddie Edwards defeats Sami Callihan very, very surprisingly, because Eddie hit a Blue Thunder Bomb before Sami hit a groin claw and a pile driver for a near fall, right? So before Eddie grabbed Kenny, so he had Kenny for this, which is weird, I don't understand it. Sami grabbed his baseball bat, they start fighting. Sami then begs Eddie not to hit him before he low blows Eddie with the bat, and Eddie rolls through when he goes for the pile driver. He just rolls him up. I don't understand it. I don't know why Kenny was there. I thought we were over this. And even weirder, after this, Sami Callihan is attacked. So Sami attacks Eddie, but he's attacked by Brian Cage, the freaking world champion, who lays him out with an F5 to end the special. What? Brian Cage, I'm gonna have 6 weeks off right? And then, only then, will I be cleared medically to compete against Sami Callihan. Jump Sami in this, does the F5. Just like, are you injured or not, bro? Are you seriously, like, how injured are you that you're able to just casually appear and do shit when you want to? It doesn't make sense to me, right? Should he be having matches if he's that agile? Like, he could be having squash matches. Quick squash matches, so Brian Cage can say like how much of a machine he is, something like that. If he's able to do these quick run-ins, makes no sense to me. But I'm so glad that Sammy and Brian Cage are actually having exchanges. There's a storyline there, and it's on a freaking Impact Plus special that not many people are seeing. I'm hoping they acknowledge it on the next taping. I'm hoping that happens. But I don't understand why they're not going to do it sooner. Like, why couldn't they done it sooner? My mind baffles, ladies and gentlemen. I'm glad, but I have so many questions. So these Impact Plus specials, these two consecutive ones, were actually really, really good, and stuff happened here. There was actual story progression on Impact Plus specials. It wasn't just a throwaway like, oh, the titles don't change hands, or like, it's not going to mean anything down the line. There was progression, which I loved. We cut to Victory Road at the Stride Bank Center in Enid, Oklahoma. We opened up with a pre-show match between Prince Mahali, who defeated Tego by pinfall. It was just a quick match. There wasn't really much to it. We had, of course, Damon Windsor as well. He lost to Flex Zebra via pinfall after a leg drop, but the main show we opened up with the North versus Retro Randy Price and Fuego del Sol. The North retain the titles because, of course, they do. When they do again, the Burning Hammer Spinebuster looked beautiful. Moose cut another promo on Ken Shamrock ahead of his match against Stephen Bonner. You had Kira Hogan defeat Desi Dorada by countout. You had an OVE promo, Sami Callihan cut a promo on Brian Cage, an actual OVE promo about Brian Cage. Oh god, it's been so long. Ahead of Bound for Glory, and ahead of his match with Hawk, which unfortunately, so Sami Callihan, he defeated Hawk with his package pile driver to pick up the win. Thumbs up, thumbs down, as if there was any doubt. We had the rematch for the World Class Championship. MVP successfully defeated Chavo Guerrero this time and became the new World Class Champion. After the match, you had Chavo and MVP. They hugged. They raised each other's arm. It was this weird little moment there, but it was a lot of MVP was doing a lot of brawling, and Chavo was he went for the Three Amigos and he went for the Frog Splash, but MVP got his knees up and he did a big running boot. That's how he won the title. I watched these two matches because they are really great if you're a classic fan of MVP and Chavo Guerrero. We had the Knockouts Championship match. Taya Valkyrie defeated Rosemary after she sprayed some stuff into her eyes. I don't know what it was, and then hit a curb stomp for the win. We had Moose defeat Stephen Bonner with his foot on the foot on the ropes. He was mocking Bonner the entire time. He was pretending to be Ken Shamrock. I loved it. Moose is just being an absolute goof. He was getting back body dropped everywhere, onto the apron, onto the ramp. He really went all out in this little extra bit in the ending of this. This next one confused me though. So we had Rohit Raju versus Eddie Edwards. So you had Eddie Edwards defeat Rohit Raju via disqualification because Mahabala Shira interfered in the match. Right? And they were gonna start beating down Eddie Edwards when who would come out but Brian Cage. Again, what? He came out, run off the Dirty Hit Squad before they set up a tag match, which happened right then. Holla holla, player player. And then you had the team of Eddie Edwards and Brian Cage defeat Rohit Raju and Shearer. You've had this guy return for 5 seconds, and already he lost the match. Don't get me wrong. You need to keep Brian Cage looking strong because he's your freaking world champion. But I don't understand why he needed to be the one. Like, of course, if anyone's going to make the save, couldn't it have been one of the Singhs? Couldn't it have been like not Gama, like the other Singh brother? Couldn't it have been that instead of Shearer? Because you need to preserve Shearer. They needed that imagery of Shearer facing off against another Man Mountain and Brian Cage. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. And it sucks. I'm hoping because this is an Impact Plus special that they, like with the tapings, that it actually makes more sense. And that this is just like a one-off thing, like, oh, no one will notice. It's just a nice little nod that, oh, Brian Cage, he can kind of do some stuff. And like naturally, Eddie Edwards took a lot of the work for this one. But Brian did like a lot of great things in this as well. Like, he did mainly clotheslines. Like, he didn't really do that much. But yeah, very bizarre. Eddie Edwards and Brian Cage pick up the victory there. And then you ended the night, the main event, Michael Elgin versus TJP. Very surprising that, again, they know the value of having TJP on the Impact Wrestling roster. It's so bizarre. And it looked like for a split second that TJP would beat Michael Elgin, but no. Michael Elgin is the future title contender. Brick Shit House defeated TJP with the Elgin Bomb. But for this match alone, you guys need to check out the Victory Road, Operation Override on Impact Plus. The specials are getting better and better. It's amazing just in such a short space of time how these little extra little segments that somehow they make them that extra bit special, and they reward the viewers for actually watching them. So you had a title change, you had story progression, you saw the world champion come back before the tapings, like officially in a match. It's all over the place. I have so many emotions, but that's what Impact Wrestling does. It gives you so many emotions. You cannot say that about a lot of promotions working today, that they make you feel things, ladies and gentlemen, and it proves that I'm still human. They make me feel things. With all that being said, I think that's about it. I am knackered. Why did my mic have to act up last week? That was the 2 latest tapings of Impact Wrestling and the 2 specials for Impact Wrestling as well. I'm going to play Operation Overdrive for another couple seconds because it's going to amuse me.
5 fingers reaching for the sky in 5 ways. 5 heroes walking through the sun for 5 days.
Or I'll leave it there before the segment gets cut off for copyright. That was it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all so much for listening to me ramble and break down all the Impact Wrestling. If you want to follow me on all the socials, I'm at Mr Myster1ous, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Grapple. Hit me up. Let me know what you thought about the Impact Plus specials and the latest tapings of Impact Wrestling in Mexico City, Mexico. If you want to follow us here collectively at the B Plus because we're a great bunch, you know it's true. We are at the B Plus Wrestling on Twitter because wrestling wouldn't fit, and the B Plus Wrestling everywhere else. Remember, I'm going to say it every time, each and every week, but we have our Patreon. Any amount you could donate would be greatly appreciated, so we can keep giving you all what you want, when you want, showcasing the very, very best of Australian wrestling because it keeps getting better and better, and keeping you up to date on all the wrestling news from around the globe. It isn't going to stop. We don't want it to stop, but we're going to be right there on the ground floor covering it all for you guys. Like, share, subscribe, hit that 5-star review. I've been Mr Myster1ous for the Impact Zone, and I'll see you later.